Around the year 6900 before Battle of Yavin, almost 2000 years ago, a renegade group of Jedi challenged the Masters of the Order for the freedom to explore the dark side. When they were refused, defeated, and finally forced into exile, they crossed the galaxy to find a place where they could live and learn as they chose without the interference of the Jedi Order. They came at last to a planet inhabited by barely civilized people who called themselves the Sith. The primitive, superstitious Sith, seeing these visitors coming from the stars, declared the outcasts gods, and promptly devoted themselves to worshipping their new masters. For thousands of years, the renegade Jedi ruled the Sith, expanding their empire to include nearby worlds, although they managed to avoid contact with their ancient enemies. Through continued campaigns of conquest, they honed their battle arts, while simultaneously adding to the fortune and glory of their empire. When they ran out of foes, they fought among themselves in bloody wars of succession. Sor Susin, one of the Dark Jedi who arrived on Corriban, was able to verify in her vast investigations of Sith culture the interconnection between human blood. And she was able to conclude that hybridization between Sith and humans was possible. This is how the mixing of species began, resulting in an individual with parentage from more than one sentient species. One of these beings was one of the most cruel and bloodthirsty Dark Lord of the Sith in history, Marka Ragnos. A Sith-human hybrid, Marka Ragnos, a direct descendant of a Dark Jedi from the 100-Year Darkness, was born around the year 5100 before Battle of Yavin. A warlord of tremendous physical power and a frightening grasp of the dark side of the Force. He rose to prominence through a series of short, ruthless campaigns against his enemies. Once he gained control of the Sith, he maintained dominance by pitting his detractors against one another with manipulation or simply assassinating them. Among the Sith, Marka Ragnos was feared, obeyed, and admired. He retained power for over a century, crushing all resistance. But he expanded the Sith Empire only slightly in all that time. Marka Ragnos was one of the few Sith alive who had researched the history of his people and knew of the Republic and its defenders, the Jedi Order. As Dark Lord of the Sith was the successor of Tulak Hor, known as the Lord of Hate and Master of the Gathering Darkness. Ragnos being the third in succession to bear this title, being the heir of Unbeatable, the first Dark Lord of the Sith. Obtaining power was not an easy thing for Marka Ragnos. After the death of the Dark Lord of the Sith, two powerful Sith fought for the throne. A duel between Marka Ragnos and Simus to determine which of them will be the Supreme Lord of the Sith. Simus lost the duel after being beheaded by the half-breed Ragnos, and the latter ascended to the position of Dark Lord, as well as becoming ruler of the Sith Empire. On the battlefield, Marka Ragnos was seen as an imposing figure. His silhouette consisted on his legendary war helmet, which gave the appearance of a horned beast since the helmet had two giant horns that intimidated any enemy, and his mythical weapon, the Scepter of Ragnos. This artifact created by Marka Ragnos was not only a weapon, but it had different qualities. The Scepter of Marka Ragnos is infused with the dark side of the Force. Its design is imposing and reflects the sinister nature of the Sith and their mastery of the dark arts. Physically, it consisted on a sword that in its casing ended in a fork shape, like the horns on its helmet. The scepter crest and handle were slate gray, while the blade was silver. With Sith culture so deep-rooted with alchemy, the scepter had the ability to siphon and store large amounts of dark side powers, as well as being able to fire bolts of energy or unleash a blast of power. The impressive power of his scepter was not limited to only physical attacks that hurt his enemies, but it also had unique abilities never seen before in the galaxy, such as the ability to grant a non-force sensitive being the faculty to control the Force, starting with a fairly high level of power and with the possibility of increasing that level of power with appropriate study and training. The scepter had the ability to infuse a dead body with enough force power to reanimate a corpse's cells. Hidden inside the scepter's handle was the Sith Sword of Ragnos, which could be taken out and wielded separately. In addition to his legendary weapon, Marka Ragnos' legacy throughout his 100-year rule was marked by great advances in discoveries in Sith alchemy and sorcery, which produced, in addition to the Scepter of Ragnos, powerful gauntlets adorned with jewels and gems. All this knowledge was captured in the Epistle of Marka Ragnos, a document about the power, knowledge, and reflections about the Sith culture written by the Dark Lord of the Sith. Ragnos knew that if the Sith Empire were to expand too far toward the core of the galaxy, they would encounter the Republic. He believed the Sith were not yet ready to enter into extended war with the forces of the Republic, especially if the Jedi were still as strong as they had been when they defeated their ancestors. To Marka Ragnos, it seemed an illogical idea to fight against those warriors who defeated their divinities, the fallen Jedi. Obviously, his views were not shared by all the Sith. Many saw his lack of expansion as a sign of weakness and took it as an opportunity and a justification to unseat the Dark Lord of the Sith. At first, anger that the other Sith would so blindly endanger his empire with their ambition. Over time, Ragnos came to realize that while they were focusing their efforts on him, they were not actually expanding the borders of the Sith Empire, and thus not precipitating contact of the Republic. Marka Ragnos elected to play the aggression of the other Sith to distract them from making a mistake that could bring the Sith Empire to ruin. Such was and will be the influence of the Sith Marka Ragnos, that he will have direct or indirect relationships with some of the most important figures in galactic history in the future. A Sith pureblood named Tenebrae was born in the year 5113 before Battle of Yavin on one of the Sith worlds, the planet called Medrias. He was the illegitimate son of Medrias ruler Lord Dramath. For reasons that will be explained in future moments, the Sith gained control of his planet Medrias, where he will later travel to the capital of the Sith Empire, Zayast. At 13, he presented himself to Marka Ragnos. Acknowledging the power of the kid, Ragnos granted Tenebrae the right to rule Medrias as his own and elevated him to the rank of Sith Lord, and thus giving way to the birth of the so-called Lord Vitiate. In the year 5000 before Battle of Yavin, Marka Ragnos met his death, the Sith's greatest achievement, a death at an advanced age. Without having been defeated by others, Sith Marka Ragnos enjoyed his reign until the last seconds of his life. Being revered as a true Dark Lord of the Sith, Marka will take his place in the Valley of the Sleeping Kings. However, his death will open a conflict for his place between two powerful Sith.